Hi, in this video I want to go over using decals and using the parts of the decal that you probably wouldn't normally think to use. Here on the top of this decal sheet, which was kindly given to me by War Tiger, so thanks again for that, War Tiger. I'm going to be using the Ultramarines part. Now I don't want the Marines part, so I'm going to get rid of from the M onwards. So I'm going to get my hobby knife as close to it as I can. I'm just going to cut around it. Sorry, don't know whether I'm getting this on camera. Get my hand out of the way there. So I'm going really close. Zoom in a bit, see if we can get. As you can see, I'm getting as close as I can to the carrier film there without disturbing the word that I actually want there. Turn it around so you can see. See, I'm really close, and as you can see, we've just got the little word that we want there. Ultra, that's all we want, and I'm actually going to be putting that decal. As you can see, there's the decal, and I'm going to just place it along the chain fist there. There we go. There we go, perfect. Now obviously in certain lights, see that's, I mean, there's obviously the water that I've just got off the brush, but in certain lights, even when it's drying, it's going to glisten, and as soon as that's settled down in the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to hit that with some matte varnish, and that's what's going to help create that painted on look. Now this is a flat surface. Now you can still, to make things look even better, use some microsol and microset, but on a flat surface like that you can get away with just matte varnishing it, but as a creature of habit, I'll be just going over that with some microsol just before I hit it with the matte varnish. But as I say, it's not a huge necessity on this type of surface. But as you can see, it's quite a nice effect. I might even shove the decal a little further up just before it settles, but as you can see on this sheet here, where it says assault, you can chuck that on one of the assault backpacks. It's tiny little writing, it'll look nice. And down here, some of those numbers there, perfect for a tank, serial numbers. So yeah, that was took me 2 minutes, and it gives a really nice even look. I mean, even some of the best painters out there would be hard pushed to get lettering that nice and that smooth. Eventually I'd like to be able to get some decal paper and print my own designs, because if there's anything that you could knock about this, it's the font. 40k is quite gothic, so the font normally would be like an old English, and then obviously this is not that sort of font, it's very block. Okay, on my finger here, it's probably not going to focus because it's focusing on the miniature, but I've got the decal, and you can see that I've cut that little corner out of the decal there. And this is obviously, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to put a tiny little bit of microset, which you can't see on the camera because it's focused on the miniature, but I'm just putting it on the brush there. You can see that my brush is wet. I'm going to put a tiny little bit on the knee pad there. Now I'm just setting the decal up to come off. I'll try and get this on the camera. looks like I've left a tiny little flex there, which is, it's not a problem because I can easily touch that up with a speck of blue paint and you'll never even notice that was there. And you see that little tiny little flecks of white there? I don't know whether the camera's picking up, but it's like, it's a tiny speck, but I'll put a dab of blue on that when it's all settled down and no one will know that was there. But now obviously I've used the micro set to help it settle down. What I'll do, I'll let that dry for a moment, and then, because obviously the curvature or the aperture of the knee pad, it causes the decal to crumple in areas you don't want it to do and crease where you want it to sit flat. So that's where the microsole comes in handy. It's literally going to mount the decal around the circumference of that knee pad. So I'm going to wait for that to dry for a moment, and then I'm going to come back with the microsole. Okay, back again. As you can see, it's still a little bit crumpled up there, and when you can see that little white speck there, we've got to sort that out. But in about 2 or 3 hours, maybe less, I don't know, that decal there is going to sit down on that miniature absolutely perfect. And then all that's left to do then is to matte varnish it to get rid of the sheen that's left by the film that's over the actual top of the decal. And then that's it really. So I'm going to come back in a bit and I'm going to show you the finished article when it's been matte varnished, and I'll pop a tiny blob of blue paint to get rid of that tiny white mark, and it should look pretty cool. Off camera, and it's just on the tabard there. Again, you be very hard pushed to actually get that to sit down on that crease on the tabard there if you didn't use microsole. Let's put it this way, you'd be a much better man than me if you could actually put that decal on there just using plain tap water. So, you know, having the right tools for the job, you know, definitely helps. This is an absolutely classic saying, and it holds no value at all. A bad workman blames his tools. Pardon my French, but that's bullshit. If you haven't got the right tools for the job, things just won't work. You do need certain things to actually achieve a good job. So if you want to actually take your designs and your work to that next level, you know, spending £2.50 or buying the set of a micro set and microsole for £5, I highly recommend it, and they work wonders. So now we can see the knee pads settled down, the one on the tabard settled down, and that one was no trouble anyway, as we know it's a flat surface. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit them up with this stuff here. It's a matte varnish, and I'm going to do that on camera just to show you how I'll put it on. It's literally neat. I'm just going to squirt some of this in here like this. See, just neat. And I'm going to just literally paint straight onto the model there, and I'm not going to water it down or worry about that at all. So let's get back focusing on the miniature there. And as you can see, just slapping it on. Doesn't really matter if it pulls too much. There we go. Same on the knee pad there. You can see, I mean, I'm literally painting this from a million miles away, looking at the camera, so I'm not taking too much care of placing the matte varnish on there. Right, there we go. So I'm going to cut it there and leave that to dry, and I'll show you. Right, all stages are complete. The matte varnishes has dried, and as you can see from the ultra symbol there, there's no sheen to the decal there that makes it stand out, so you wouldn't tell whether that was painted on or not. And same goes for the one there on his little loincloth, and also on the knee pad. Touched up that little white dot. If I really wanted to take it a tiny little step further, I would go and paint the top part of the I'll just show you with the brush. I'd paint this part back in just over there a little bit, because the loincloth doesn't come over far enough to cover the whole part, but that's only a tiny little thing. There's another decal that was cut down and put on the top. When you put a red over the top of blue, it doesn't look too good, so I've painted over the red freehand over the skull that's been broken up by damage and whatnot. So yeah, don't be afraid to paint over a decal once it's settled down. You can obviously make it look way better by highlighting it and chucking in some shadows around skulls. But yeah, I've chucked quite a few decals on this, and it just makes that miniature look that more special. And it's the last stage to painting a miniature, apart from his face. It's not finished yet, as you probably can see. Normally I'd do the decals probably last, but anyway, yeah, they're very simple to do when you start applying them correctly.